What a brilliant game of football. Honestly, from a neutral point of view, that's probably one of the best adverts of Premier League football you're going to see in a very long time. But as a Manchester United fan, I am completely gutted with the way that went because we were in that game for so long. And yes, in the second half, we weren't really attacking. We were on the ropes. We were defending for our lives, but we were this close to getting a point against the league leaders in Arsenal and putting yet another blemish on what has otherwise been a perfect, a flawless, a stupendous season from Mikel Arteta's Arsenal. I'm pretty hurt by that one. And honestly, I don't even know where to start because I think Erik ten Hag set up a team there which really lacked a lot of options. He's doing the best with what he has. He has to play Weghorst up front because Martial is injured. I personally would have gone with Rashford through the middle, perhaps started Garnacho, and maybe tried to go with a little bit more fluidity and pace in the attack rather than the hold-up play of Weghorst. Because I don't think Weghorst is just quite up to it. I don't think Weghorst quite cuts the mustard. I think Weghorst was sluggish, was very slow, and even though he works really hard, he presses from the front, and he's a very principled player in terms of technically and in terms of physically, in terms of agility and pace. I don't think he offers us enough. So that's one of the gripes I had with Ten Hag today. Also, the fact that we kept Eriksen on the pitch for so long. Saka's goal comes because Eriksen does not close him down, and he did that on a couple of occasions, and Eriksen isn't the only culprit. Luke Shaw let Bakayoko Saka in way too many times. Now, for the most part, he got away with it. He was able to block the crosses, he was able to block the shots, but Bakayoko Saka had way too much freedom down on that right-hand side, and I think Luke Shaw needs to be a little bit more brave. I think he needs to step up a little bit more and try to actually stop Bakayoko Saka in his tracks rather than waiting for him and trying to react. So that's another area where we were really lacking today. Otherwise, I can't really fault the team too much. I thought McTominay was okay. Bruno was an absolute ghost in the second half, but in the first half, he was okay as well. Rashford, he scored the goal. He did what he could have possibly done to influence the result, and it still wasn't enough. And honestly, I'm just gutted. I'm just absolutely gutted. I mean, Arsenal were very good. Arsenal were very, very good. Odegaard was giving us a lot of problems in that midfield. He was very, very influential for Arsenal, even though he didn't score, and I don't believe he got an assist today. He was so influential. There was a moment in the game where he almost assisted Xhaka. He put it on a silver platter for Granit Xhaka, and if it weren't for the desperation and the brilliance of Lisandro Martinez, Xhaka would have scored an easy tap-in from a brilliant Odegaard assist. Xhaka also was very brilliant today, taking shots, stringing the passes together, being extremely physical in defense, and just being a menace for Manchester United. So we just couldn't cope with Arsenal's threat. And this Arsenal team is so scary because they're not one-dimensional. They're one of the most dynamic Arsenal teams I've seen in my lifetime. And I've been on this earth long enough to have seen the Invincibles. I've been on this earth long enough to have seen all the FA Cups that Arsenal won. But this Arsenal team is one of the most dynamic Arsenal teams. They're so good at adapting. They're ever changing. They're ever evolving. There's never just one threat. It's a multitude of threats coming from a multitude of angles. Ben White got taken off, but I thought he was decent. Zinchenko was brilliant. He was so superb. And that's the issue with Arsenal. Martinelli, I thought he was quiet today, but it didn't matter because Nketiah and Saka kept the defense occupied. And that's the thing with this Arsenal team. You cannot switch off in the dying embers of the game. You cannot let a cross come into the box and not mark Nketiah and not mark the key players. Oh, I'm pissed. This one's going to hurt for a very long time. And I know Arsenal are the best team in the league. I didn't really expect Manchester United to go to the Emirates and get a result, but to lose like that, I almost would have rather been battered by Arsenal than to lose like that in painful fashion, because what it tells me is that we were this close. We were this close to getting something out of it, and just like Crystal Palace, we bottled it towards the end, and it's just so painful. It's just so painful. Football sometimes can be a beautiful game, but other times it can be the most cruel form of torture. And us as football fans put ourselves through this as a weird form of masochism because we love the sport. It's, I don't know. I think there's some interesting tactical things that I want to talk about tomorrow, and I'll make a full video about that. But right now, I'm not in the headspace to talk about things tactically. I think fair play to Arsenal, man. Fair play. They're going to win the league. Peace.